Okay, hi everybody, welcome. I hope you're all keeping well, and yeah, it's been a bit of a funny week. The world's gone a little bit nuts, but nice to be here and yeah, spend Sunday evening with you all for a nice relaxed sing-song. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in, and if you are tuning in for the first time, then you can kind of join in however you want, but we're going to do a little bit of a warm-up and then I'll teach a couple of songs to get us singing. So for now, let's have those who are ready for a bit of a sing and a stretch up on their feet, and we'll do some warming up and then I'll start teaching in a second. So I'm going to start with a little bit of shaking it out, hands, elbows, shoulders, and heads around slowly, and slowly back the other way. Very nice. And then shoulders round slowly, and slowly going back the other way as well. Very good. And then quick pat down, legs, arms, shake it all out, and fall into a good singing position. So feet about shoulder width apart, knees nice and loose so you can bounce around. And just take in a nice big breath through your nose, and then out with a big sigh. And another big breath in, and then this time breathing out more slowly. Great, and we're going to do one big breath in and a yawn and a stretch. Good, and a little bit of singing. So can we start with just to a hum? We're going to do a and keep it really light and try and focus the sound on the front of your lips so you can feel that kind of tingling. 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing, but I want you to think about the sound being in your nose, so it's a much more kind of nasally, twangy feel. 3, 4. To an ooh. Ooh. Ah. Ah. E. Great. Let's get started, and I'll do some teaching of what we're going to do today. So today's going to run a little bit differently to usual. Lots of you have been in touch over the week asking if I can do something this evening to respond to some of the craziness that's going on in the world at the moment, and I wanted to as well, so I'm glad that you've been in touch to talk about that. So I've been thinking about how best to respond. And kind of what I want to do today is, rather than teach one big song, I'm going to teach 3 much shorter songs, which are all settings of quotes by inspirational and powerful black women over the last century, I guess, who have all been really important in the fight for civil rights. So maybe I'll say a little bit more about that as I get going. But the other thing to say is welcome, and if you're tuning in for the first time and you don't know how this works, the only thing you really need to know is that the lyrics are in a box under the video. You should find a link to the lyrics, and if you want to type, there should be a chat window down the right hand side which you can open up if you're signed into YouTube, and then you can share messages with each other as we go, and I can read those all back at the end. The only other thing to say is join in however you want with whichever part you want to sing. It's totally up to you. I tend to teach in 4 parts, so kind of soprano, alto, tenor, bass. But if those words don't mean anything to you, just sing whatever feels right. And yeah, I think that's enough of an introduction. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to teach today is a setting of a text by Toni Morrison. So Toni Morrison was an author and a campaigner, and she famously wrote a book called Beloved, which was also made into a film, I think. So yeah, it was a big deal, and she was the first African American woman to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. Yeah, and a really amazing writer. And this is a little quote. And where have I got my music? So I can't remember what key I've done it in. It is. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. And I chose this quote because I think it speaks to us right now in terms of recognising our own role in some of the systems that are in place. So in the kind of discussions around racism, particularly in more recent unravelings, it's a lot about how systems are set up against people or in favour of other people. And I suppose this little quote sort of shines a bit of a light on that. And I'm going to teach the main melody and then divide up into 4 parts really quickly. So it goes, it's nice and slow, it goes. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. And it's as short as that. I'll do it one more time because the first phrase is a little bit jumpy. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. Then it goes round again. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. And you can of course do it up the octave. If you are free. And that's where I've recorded it, I think. Yeah. You need to free somebody else. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. So that's our kind of soprano tune, and underneath that we've got tenor and alto and bass parts which come in after the phrase. So it's if you are free. So you kind of sing in a gap. So I'm going to do the bass part first, which goes 1, 2. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. Gap, gap. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. So the second phrase lines up with the soprano part, but the first phrase doesn't. So I'll play those 2 parts together. Here come the sopranos. Sopranos in, and basses. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. And again. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. So tenors, your part sings over the top of the basses. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. So I'll do that on its own. It goes, if you are free, you need to free somebody else. And 1, 2. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. Let's put it with the basses. 1, 2. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. And again. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. With sopranos. And if you are free, you need to free somebody else. Last but not least, our altos. Go. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. I'll do it one more time. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. So, altos. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. And 1, 2. If you are free, you need to free that up. Here come the altos.
If you are free, you need to free somebody else.
With our tenors. And 1, 2.
If you are free, you need to free somebody else.
With our basses. And 1, 2.
If you are free, you need to free somebody else.
Tune.
If you are free, you need to free somebody else.
So those are all 4 parts. I'm going to run it a couple of times just so you can sing along and soak up those harmonies. And then I'm just going to add loads and loads of reverb until it disappears into the reverb, and we'll move on to something else. But yeah, I'll run it a few times, so sing along, and if you want to duck and dive between the harmony parts, that's totally fine. There are a couple of extra harmonies you could add in as well to kind of rich it out if you want to. Here we go. So we've got...
You need to free somebody else.
Okay, here come the sopranos.
If you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you are free, you need to free somebody
There we go. So there's a little bit of Toni Morrison to get us started. That's just a really short one to get us going. As I said before, I'm going to try and teach 3 really short songs today, so it's a little bit different to other weeks. The next thing I want to teach is... I can't remember what order I was going to do them in. Oh yeah, We Must Be the Change. So this is a setting of a text by Audre Lorde. It's a tiny little fragment. Audre Lorde was a poet and an activist and a campaigner, and she dedicated her life and her talent, I guess, to confronting racism, sexism, and generally fighting for equality. And I just think this is a nice, tiny little soundbite of hers. And maybe what I'm going to do with this one is just play you the whole thing, so you can hear the whole thing through, because it's a new one, and then I'll divide up into some harmony parts. So here it comes, the whole thing together.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change. We must be the change.
And then it goes round. The sharp-eared amongst you will have spotted there's actually more than 4 harmony parts in there. But I'm going to teach 4 and then throw it open so you can add in any harmonies you want to. And for this one, I think I'm going to start with the basses. So basses, you have got... your first phrase goes, we must be the change we wish to see in the world. 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. Then, you stay there. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. So it finishes the same place, but the root is slightly different. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. 3, 4. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. So those 2 lines together go. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. One more time. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. Last time. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. I'm just going to do those first 2 lines for now and get the tenors and altos up to there as well. So tenors, I'll do your part next. You're going to do... We must be the change we wish to see in the world. One more time. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. Together. And we must be the change we wish to see in the world. Then we must be the change we wish to see in the world. I'll do that one more time. The last note's a bit of a catch. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. Together. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. So those 2 lines together go. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. Then, we must be the change we wish to see in the world. Shall we try one more time? 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. And last but not least, I'll do altos up to there. You have got... We must be the change we wish to see in the world. I'll do that one more time. It slightly goes across my change, so it might go a bit squeaky sometimes. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. 3, 4. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. And then, we must be the change we wish to see in the world. I'll do that one more time, that's a bit fiddly. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. 3, 4. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. One more time. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. So those 2 lines together go. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. One more time. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. must be the change we wish to see in the world. So, let's try and build up that first section, starting with our alto part and working down. So we've got...
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world.
And now, alto and tenor together. We's the altos, we's the tenors. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world.
So remember, tenors, that last note is a bit strange. See in the world. And now let's put our bass part in. You might hear a little bit of the soprano part on top. I haven't taught that yet, but I'll teach it in just a second because it does something totally different. So we've got we for the basses, we for the tenors, we for the altos. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world.
Let's do that one more time before I put our soprano part on top. Basses, the only catch in your part is the we must be the change in that second phrase. Is a little bit different to what the tenors and altos do. I'll do it one more time and I'll guide the bass part. We. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world.
So, sopranos, you can probably hear what your part does, but you've got this phrase which follows on and it goes, we must be the change. And nice and strong. After 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change. Then your second phrase does a similar kind of thing, exactly the same rhythm, but it goes, we must be the change. So much lower. We must be the change. 3, 4. We must be the change. And the catch in your part is that those two phrases fall at slightly different places. So the first one falls in the gap after world. The second one lands on the other harmony parts when they sing the word see. I'll put all 4 parts together and I'll show you what I mean soprano so you can hear it in context. So here we've got we, basses, altos, basses, tenors, altos. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We must be the change we wish to see
Sopranos.
in the world. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change.
So you can hear that second phrase comes in earlier. We must be the change. It's really tempting to put it in the gap, but it's a bar ahead. Let's do that one more time. We. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change.
Just before we get into the second section, we're going to do that one more time for anyone who just wants one more recap. We. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change. We must be the change. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change. We must be the change.
So let's go through that second half. Alto altos, you take the lead and you're going to do we must be the change with a nice strong last note. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change. Then your second phrase does exactly the same thing, but it goes up at the end. So it's we must be the change. I'll do that one more time. We must be the change. Together. 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change. So those two lines go. We must be the change. We must be the change. One more time. We must be the change. We must be the change. And you'll hear that on your long notes on change, the harmony parts sing slightly dissonant phrases alongside, which then resolve. So you need to be pretty sure about those notes. So let's do it one more time so it's nice and secure. 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change. We must be the change. Just before I put those harmony parts in, let's do that part, the alto part, from the beginning. So it goes a little something like this.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world.
Then strong.
We must be the change. We must be the change. We must be.
Then we're back to the beginning. So I'm going to do next the bass part, I think. So basses, you'll hear altos do their we must be. You're going to do we must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change we wish to see. 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change we wish to see. So that lands on the alto singing change. We must be. We must be the change we wish to. We must be. We must be the change. So let's do. I'll do each phrase separately. So tenors, I'm going to do your part next. You've just heard the basses do their. We must be the change we wish to see. Yours is really similar. You're going to do. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change we wish to see. And 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change we wish to see. And then you're going to go down to we must be the change. 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change. And bass is your last phrase. We must be the change. 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change. So the altos, we must be. We must be the change we wish to see. Must be We must be the change. That's a bit tricky with me singing all parts. Let me try and put it in context. So you will hear all parts from the beginning.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world.
Altos.
We must
Tenors and basses.
the change. We must be the change we wish to see. Must be
Tenors and basses.
we must be the change.
So that last phrase, we must be the change. If you're a tenor, we must be the change. If you're a bass. Sopranos, I think I'm going to stick your part in straight away. So a bit like in the first section, you have a following phrase. So you'll hear the we must be the, we must be the, we must be the change. So it's that same phrase you had earlier on. It's just the last entry to come in. So you hear altos, then tenors and basses together, and then sopranos, the last group. We must be the change. And then just like in the first section, your second phrase syncs up with everybody else. We must be the change. I'll do that one more time. We must be the change. So it starts a bit clashy and then resolves. So I'll just do those two phrases together. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change. 1, 2, 3, 4. We must be the change. So the note for that second phrase is the same note you finish your first phrase on. We must be the change. Keep that note. We must be the change. Let's put it all together and hopefully it'll make sense. Here we go from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change.
Altos.
We must be
Tenors and basses.
we must
Sopranos.
be the change we wish to see. Must be
Everybody.
we must be the change.
Back to the beginning.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change.
Altos.
We must be
Tenors and basses.
the change. We must be the
Sopranos.
change we wish to see. Must be
Everybody.
the change. We must be the change.
Good. Let's do that a couple of times through without me screaming over the top, so you can hear it all come together. And maybe we'll start by building it up a little bit. So I'm going to start with the altos once through on their own, then bring in the tenors, and then the basses and sopranos together for the final version. So altos on their own first of all. And as each new part comes in, I'll sing it with you. So if there are any bits you're not totally sure on, try and tune into me live as each new part is introduced. Here we go. We must be 1, 2, 3, 4.
We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world.
Strong.
We must be the change. We must be the change.
With tenors.
We must be the change we wish change. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change. We must be the change. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change. We must be the change. We must be the change we wish to see. We must be the change. We must be the change.
There we have it. I hope you got into that one. We've got time for one more short one, but perhaps before I do, I'll just say that in the link where I've left the lyrics, you can also find at the bottom a link to a charity to support, which is a charity called Black Minds Matter. And kind of in recognition that this is a particularly traumatic and difficult time for lots of people of colour, Black Minds Matter is a charity which is raising money to prioritise their mental health at the moment. So if you are in a position where you can give any money towards that charity, I think it's a really worthwhile one to get involved with or get behind. And you can find a link to that in the same link where the lyrics are. So just below the video where it says lyrics, you should find at the bottom of that lyrics page a link to that charity. So the last piece I want to do today is a quote by Maya Angelou. I'm sure lots of you are familiar with her work. She's an amazing poet, writer, and I guess storyteller, and civil rights activist as well. And her autobiography is worth a read. It's called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and yeah, a really amazing read about kind of growing up as a young black woman over in America. And I am just going to delete some tracks on here to make way for this new recording, because I've got all of my gadgets going today in order to try and do 3 songs at once. So this is a really beautiful quote. It's, "Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away." And again, I'm going to do it in 4 parts, but much more than the other ones, this is a real one for improvisation. So I'm not really going to spend too much time teaching those parts. I'm just going to build up some kind of textures and harmonies and ask you to sing along. I'll teach the main tune and the main harmony, and then apart from that, I kind of want to leave it up to you to find your own way through. Let me just delete some stuff, 1 second. So, the main tune goes, "Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away." So long phrases. Let's do that in chunks. Phrase 1 goes, "Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take." One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. "Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take." Second phrase, "But by the moments that take your breath away." I'll do that one more time. but by the moments that take your breath away. After 2 and 1, 2. But by the moments that take your breath away. Again with a really long last note. So those 2 phrases together go. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Together. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. So let me record that into the loop machine. 1 second. It's going to go, I'm going to do it up the octave this time. I'll just check we're in the same place. Life. So it's going to go 2, 3. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. So that's kind of our main tune up there, but you can do it down the octave if you prefer. The next harmony I'm going to teach is kind of like a tenor, alto-y sort of harmony, and it's the main harmony, and it follows exactly the same shape. It goes, life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. So let's do that in chunks. The first bit goes, life is not measured by the number of breaths you take. 3, 4. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take. And then, but by the moments that take your breath away. So let me try and record that under what we've got so you can hear it in context, and I'll do it a couple of times so it'll make sense. And feel free to join in with it, whichever part feels right. So here comes the main tune. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Here comes our harmony. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moment
but by the moments that take your breath away.
So, I'm going to teach a bass part, and then from then on we're going to do a kind of improvisation around it, and I'm going to ask you to sing whichever parts you like or make up your own parts, and we'll just build up a big texture around this beautiful Maya Angelou phrase. But before we do so, here come the basses. So basses is a little bit jumpy, but it starts all on one note. So you've got life is not measured by the number of breaths you take. First part really easy, second part not so easy. I'll do it one more time. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take. Then we stay there, but by the moments that take your breath away. I'll do that one more time. But by the moments that take your breath away. So the whole thing goes, life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. I'll do it in context now with the other two parts. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. So there's three parts there. Hopefully there's a part that you can join in with. Let's build up a really big texture around that, including some improvisation, and I'll add in some harmonies and improvisation elements as well. And yeah, just kind of explore this lovely Maya Angelou phrase. So I'll bring in each part separately and we'll start to build it up.
Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath
Well, thank you everybody. Thank you very much for joining me today and singing along. I always look forward to Couch Chorus, and it's really nice that people tune in week on week. So thank you so much for being here. A couple of news things to say. Where's my list? I try and get more organised and write things down, but it doesn't always work. Yes, a couple of news things. This week I released my virtual choir video. I'm sure lots of you have seen it already. But if you haven't, you can find it on my YouTube channel, and it's the one I keep going on about week on week, where I put together a video of 108 different singers singing a little piece I wrote, and it's out and it sounds magnificent. So thank you to everybody who took part and everybody who's watched it and shared it, and I'm really glad to see it going down well and people enjoying it. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out, because it's pretty special, and yeah, I'm just really pleased to have it out in the world, and thanks to everybody who's been involved, and also everybody that supported the 2 charities I put forwards. We've raised an amazing amount of money so far, so yeah, I'm really pleased about that, and thank you. I also put out another video this weekend, which is a duet with my friend Dom, and we're singing a song called Children of Darkness. Lots of you will know that song if I sing with you regularly, because we've been learning it. Yeah, it's a kind of song that I keep coming back to because it's very apt for the time we're in at the moment. It includes the line, "Now in this age of confusion, I have need for your company," which kind of resonates. I was thinking about doing it for a couch chorus session one week, actually, and I may do. But for now, you can find a version of me and Dom singing it on my YouTube channel as well. The only other thing to say is, if you've enjoyed this video, and I really hope you have, then I've left under the video a link to something called Buy Me a Coffee, which is a way you can support this project. But I totally understand that these are, tricky times for lots of people, so don't feel obliged. But yeah, the option's there if you would like it, and I'm very grateful to everybody who's supported so far. Thank you very much. The last thing to say is, today was themed around racism, and I called it Choirs Against Racism, which is a project, an ongoing project featuring lots of new music tackling racism, because choirs are such an amazing way of communicating with people and celebrating community and everything that it is. So yeah, Choirs Against Racism is a great project, and thank you for getting involved and showing your support for this project. And as I said before, on my lyric sheet you can find a link to a donation to Black Minds Matter, and join the fight for equality and anti-racism. And yeah, I'm sure lots of you have been horrified by the scenes that we're seeing day after day going around the world, and I suppose now more than ever is a great time to show our support and love for all of the people of colour in our lives, or even not in our lives, just around the world. So yeah, find a way to get involved if you can, whether that's supporting charities or, I don't know, lobbying your local MP or whatever it might be. There are loads of ways to get involved and yeah, show your support. So yeah, I think that's a nice place to finish for today, but thanks for being here, for singing with me. Have a good week, take care of yourselves, and I will look forward to singing with you all again this time next week. I'm going to leave it there and come and read some of your comments. Thanks everybody, bye bye.